As the pastel orange and crimson painted the sky with the waking sun, blood dripped on the ground with a soft plop. A man was walking through the forest, wincing in pain. He pressed his hand to his side, trying to stop the bleeding from the wound. His lips quivered, and his dark eyes were locked on a small cottage on the horizon. The man stumbled and slammed against a tree, hissing in pain and irritation. He blinked a few times, trying to stay awake as his life was slipping through his fingers. Pressing his lips into a thin line, he pushed himself from the tree and started making his way, walking to the cottage, wincing in pain. His heart was filled with determination as he wanted to survive, just to have a chance to take a revenge on those who took everything away from him that made him happy. It took him a while before he got to the cottage, feeling the blood seeping through his clothes, slipping between his fingers, dripping onto the ground with a soft blob. Without a second thought, he slammed his hand on the wooden door, hoping there was someone inside. After a moment, a woman opened the door and she looked at him with widened eyes. Help! Please! Whispered the man. He looked at her, silently begging her to take him in and patch his wounds before he could bleed to death. His skin became pale, and eyes seemed to be sunken and weary, indicating his exhaustion. By the goddess! Gasped the woman. She quickly looked around, making sure no one was watching them before she put her arm around the man, guiding him inside the house. Without a second thought, she helped him onto the table in her kitchen, noticing how much blood he had lost. Pressing her lips into a thin line, she grasped a towel and gave it to the man. Put a pressure on the wound. I need to get my medical supplies. Thank you, thank you, muttered the man. With a shaking hand, he pressed the towel to his side, groaning in pain. The woman quickly dashed to the other part of the cottage, searching through the medical supplies and herbs. Her lips quivered, and she took a deep breath, knowing there was not much time to save the mysterious guest. Steadying herself, she went back to the kitchen, where the man was laying down on the wooden table, pressing the bloody towel to his side. He was terribly pale, and she could swear there was a sweat on his face, sliding down his forehead. She approached, placing the basket of supplies nearby. I, uh, I don't know what happened to you, but I will try to help you, muttered the woman. Without a second thought, she grabbed a bowl with water and placed it nearby, knowing she would need it to wash her hands of the blood when necessary. Taking a deep breath, she reached for her tools. I'm Eve. With shaking hands, she looked at the man who was fighting to stay awake, and she noticed how he was losing this battle. Pressing her lips into a thin line, Eve removed the bloody towel, instantly starting to work on the man's wound. She ignored how bad it was, knowing this deep puncture wound was life threatening. Determination filled her heart, and she worked without a break, cleaning and stitching the man's body. It took her a few hours to take care of the unconscious guest in her small cottage. Finally, she sat down on the chair nearby, washing her hands in the red water, feeling the exhaustion creeping into her body. Eve looked at the man covered in a blanket, pale as the white walls of her kitchen, and she pressed her lips into a thin line, wondering if he would survive the next few hours since he had lost a lot of blood to the life threatening wound. She wiped her hands with a groan of exhaustion. She lay down on a wooden bench in the kitchen, feeling as she was awake for more than a day. Her mind was questioning everything, wondering why this man was injured and what had happened. Within minutes, she felt her eyelids growing heavy, and fighting the weariness seems to be pointless. Eve closed her eyes, quickly drifting into the darkness where dreams took over her mind. As the sun sipped through the window, it caressed her cheek, waking her up. Her muscles protested with weariness. Eve slowly got up, groaning in frustration as she had taken a nap in uncomfortable position. Remembering what had happened the last day, Her eyes widened as she quickly focused her attention on the man sleeping on the wooden table in her kitchen. Without a second thought, she dashed to check on him, and a sigh of relief escaped her lips as the man seemed to be still breathing, fighting for his life. After a few days, the man finally woke up, stirring up her curiosity. Eve was tending to his wounds, talking with him about everything and nothing, about how he went through hell and back. At first, he didn't want to betray his name, yet after a few weeks, she finally discovered his identity. Mark was an assassin who betrayed his own people to save someone who didn't deserve to die, later settling down and having a family. He loved that woman deeply, only for her to be taken away from him a few years later. Hearing his story, Eve felt sadness squeezing her heart. She made sure that Mark felt comfortable in her cottage while he was regaining his strength. He often talked about taking revenge on the people who destroyed his life and everything he loved. Eve didn't know how to feel about it, so she tried to steer his mind to something else. Quite often, she was painting something on canvas, allowing him to watch her to soothe his soul. At some point, she noticed how he was enjoying it. Weeks turned into months, and they started growing closer until it was time for Mark to leave. There was pain in his eyes, yet he swore to take revenge on the people who took everything away from him. She watched him leaving her cottage, and her heart was breaking into pieces. Yet she knew she had to let him go. After he left, she painted each day, creating abstract and also naturalistic paintings, trying to cling to the hope that he would come back one day. For Eve, days turned into weeks, and then turned into months. Despite everything, she still held tight to the hope, believing they had a tangible connection that could turn into something more. She allowed herself to live from one day to another, waiting for his return that never happened. Deep down, her heart was breaking into small pieces, and she started regretting giving a piece of her soul to someone else.